Welcome to the Genetic Code. I'm your host, Jeanette Collins. This podcast is designed to take you one episode at a time on an intimate journey of your own personal transformation. Each podcast will have tools and techniques for you to practice in your daily life to create the very best version of you. Let's get started. Emotional patterns. As we go about living our daily lives, we begin creating emotional patterns based on experiences that we have had. Emotions are what is left after you have any experience. So as life moves on and we experience the same events, those experiences over and over again, we develop emotional patterns. For example, when I was young and growing up, I had many experiences that left me with the emotion of despair. My efforts in anything I tried or did always ended with me in some kind of trouble. I felt as though there was nothing I could do right, and that everything I did do, no matter how well-meaning or good I was making it, brought me sharp, painful consequences from the hand of another. The emotional pattern that developed was believing that my own judgments and decisions were questionable and probably wrong, no matter how much time I spent carefully laying the process out to make sure it was a good idea. There are triggers to emotional patterns. These assist you in being able to spot instantly that a pattern is running and that you can put the brakes on and breathe and reset your intention for what you want your new response to be, taking the time to bring the old emotion down to a dull roar. When I was triggered years after I had left home by some event, and all that despair came flooding in, the stories always started without me even trying. What's wrong with me? How come I can't figure this out? I wish I was more loving because I screw everything up. Yep, those stories. And when they started, it was like putting gas on a roaring fire. Pretty soon that emotion was out of control inside of me. So as you're going about your living and something sets you off or triggers your emotional pattern into action, stop. Stop right there in the moment and ask yourself, have I ever felt this emotion and feeling before? If you're like me, it's oh, heck yes I have, a lot of times. It was way too familiar. That's why I was so upset. Well, that's your first sign that it's not about what happened that's the problem, but that your old, very practiced emotional pattern, or another way to say it is your emotional reaction, is running the show. Now you can stop, take a breath, recognize that this emotion is very familiar, detach the idea that the current event is to blame, and breathe again. Now it's time to exercise your tools of allowing this emotion, without all the stories, to be felt. Find where you are experiencing this emotion in your body. Feel it. Feel it. Make it safe to just feel it. Breathe and notice that as you dismiss all the stories and allow just the present feeling in your body to just be what it is at that moment, the energy in your body lightens. It changes. There is no more resistance to the emotion. You are allowing it to just be felt. Finally felt. That emotion that became trapped inside you was waiting for the environment to set it on fire. And now it's finally being felt, and it is freed by you. The process, once you've done it, will come around again. But if you use the same tools and techniques of allowing, for it to be safely felt and breathe, the body will be being trained into a more loving response until that old emotional pattern has been so washed out and faded that you respond with more love and patience. Because you see, that's the emotion you used to put the fire out in the first place. Now you are no longer triggered or set off by that emotional pattern that you have lovingly dismantled by creating a safe, loving new path to follow. In time, you will become a master of your own emotions and patterns. You will know and feel empowered to respond when life brings you circumstances that may be challenging. As you have been spending time being aware, paying attention, placing your intention on new decisions, journaling, and making wiser choices, you have been changing all of you. The changes build up. You are accruing interest. The investment you made into you is beginning to pay off. The results are joyful. When you spend your energy and time intentionally focused on changing old behaviors with their emotions and reactions, you are, step by step, creating a new you. You are the investment of your time and energy. The emotional patterns that get set up inside us over time, without our consciousness and awareness, take over our lives by default. They trigger your body and thoughts into an action that you aren't fully conscious of, and we find ourselves reacting over and over to these events in ways that are unloving and old. When you have those emotional patterns running amok inside you, it leaves you feeling like a victim, helpless at times to really respond like you know you want to. The more loving you decide to become, the more you will pay attention to what keeps stealing your attention, which are old, overdone, emotional patterns. These patterns are like a path well traveled. It's easy to walk where the path is worn down. It might even feel like you should be walking there. But look at your results. If the results you're getting don't provide you and others with greater love and a lighter, inspired feeling, then it's time to change. There is so much beauty in choosing to change your emotional reactions and patterned behaviors. Just like the worn-out path, you start looking for alternative routes or ways of being. They might never have been traveled by you before, so they may look like there's no path. That's the lovely part. You get to choose one, create how you want your new way of being to look, and with your inner courage, step off the old, familiar path that has only produced negative behavior and adventure out into the great unknown. You are such a blessed being to be able to choose your responses, to change the way you think and feel. Use this ability and free yourself from the pattern and behaviors of the victim. The more you choose and start creating your own path to walk, and you become very familiar with all the old ways of doing things, your inside becomes lighter. The path seems less scary to take, and your inner self-confidence is being built. You, by your own personal choice and power, turned the course of your life around, and you will see the results. Don't be afraid to modify what you choose to do. Play with this new path you've chosen, and choose choices and behaviors that leave you inspired and feeling greater love towards you and others. As you are changing old emotional patterns and learning day by day how to stop, breathe, recenter yourself to the new idea of how do I choose to respond, you're learning how to master your own emotions, how to become the master of your own life. So let's recap this. Emotional patterns are the repeated result of past experiences that you, by repetition, have programmed yourself to react to. As you become aware that you don't like or want to react the same way to certain events in life, you begin to put a conscious awareness and a focused attention on the tools to change those patterns. The steps to recognize these patterns are noticing. Notice that your thoughts and feelings and emotions about an event are old and familiar. You've done it before. Stop. Stop the thought for a moment. Then breathe. Breathe and recenter yourself. Then feel. Feel inside your body where the emotion is showing up and allow it to be safely felt. Just felt without any reason why. Then breathe again. Then you are free to create a new, better response to what's happening around you. Sometimes just taking the steps to stop, breathe, and feel is all the change you need. Continue creating a more loving response to old behaviors. by creating a new path for you to follow, one that inspires you, empowers you, and frees you from the past. I invite you this week to dive deeper into your self-transformation, to look at your emotional patterns and reactions. Remember your worth and stop, breathe, and safely feel your way into a better you. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. Please share this with others and tune in next week for another chance to learn, grow, and become a part of the greatest journey on earth, the journey to transform yourself, to empower yourself, and to extend that love to the world. You are worth it.